Hi, today we're going to take a look at building some tree slice coasters. We have a few blanks here. We're going to walk through the process from cutting them from our log to sanding and eventually laser printing, and then finishing with some stain. And so obviously we start with a log, and then we would have our saw set up to cut at an angle, and we would simply slice off a set of coasters here. We typically do 4 coasters per set. So as you can see in this example, we would have cut off a slice, cut off a slice, cut off a slice, cut off a slice, and now we have 4 that then stack together very nicely. And then we would continue, and we will normally, cut 4 or 5 or 6 sets at a time, and then take them into dry, as this wood is not 100% dry. We'll take them inside and let them dry for a couple months. So once we have them cut, as I said, next thing we'll do is sand them. We'll actually go through 2 steps here. We start off with about 180 grit sandpaper to take them down a bit, to smooth them off. Then we finish off with about 180 grit sandpaper to make them nice and smooth. Now sometimes when we're doing this, we will accidentally take off the outside bark. That's just what happens every now and then. And so at that point, of course, we don't have a set of 4 anymore, and they tend to become our samples. And we just use them for our testing. So when we are sanding, I tend to wear a glove on one hand because we're working on a pretty small object here, and I tend to run into my fingers. And so rather than rip off all my nails, I just put a glove on. And when we start sanding, we will do our first layer of sanding, then we'll flip it over and do that second layer of sanding on the back, and the same with each piece. Sand, flip over, sand, sand, flip over, sand. And then we will stack them with the bottom up, because the next thing we're going to do is change our sandpaper to a finer grit for the final sanding. And at that time, we will sand the bottom and then finish off sanding the top, so that when they move over to the laser for printing, they're already top side up. We don't get them confused. Now in this case, we're actually making 2 sets today, so we'll leave our coarse grit sandpaper on the sander. We will sand the top, then the bottom of this here, our second set, and then we'll move on to the fine sanding. Here we are now onto the next step. We've taken our bottom side up tree slice coaster here, and we've switched from our 80 grit sandpaper to our 220 grit sandpaper, and this will be the finishing sanding. And so we'll just again, wearing our gloves so we don't take our fingertips off. So then after we're done with the fine grit sanding, now we will be top side up again, and we'll move on to our next piece, which of course is bottom side up. We are actually working on 2 different orders here, one set here, one set here. This order, the customer wanted a bit of variety. So we already have our Bourbon is My Happy Place tree slice coaster set. What they actually want is they want Whiskey is My Happy Place, Rum is My Happy Place, Vodka is My Happy Place, and Beer is My Happy Place. So it's 4 different coasters, all from the same section of a branch, all the same style. And this order is this was ordered. The customer wants 4 of the same. Wine is My Happy Place. So just an example of how we can customize your order for your personal tastes. And because most of what we do is make to order, so we will have some of this rough stock already prepared. As I said, it's been drying for about 2 months. And then the laser printing, we can adjust that specific to the customer's order. Now is where we get to one of the most exciting parts of any of these projects, which is the laser printing. So we have our laser control software on our laptop here. We have the image that we're going to print that we've designed in Photoshop. We've got the laser all set up. We have a coaster in place. Now when we print a set of 4 square coasters, we'll usually print them 4 at a time, which allows us to set the print and let it go. But because Mother Nature doesn't make these square and they are a little bit variable in the size, we will print them 1 at a time. Now that we have everything queued up, we will hit the go button and our countdown begins and the laser starts. In this case, we are printing black lettering, which is one of the faster prints. And so this print job is going to take us probably about 10 minutes per coaster. Now, if we were working with something like this, which obviously is a much larger piece, a much larger image, and as you can see, a lot of finite detail, this one is designed to print in grayscale mode. And so while this may be a few minutes, this will be a few hours. Just a little different angle here, and you can actually see how the laser is printing right on this this coaster, line by line. It actually prints about 10 lines per millimeter, so it's a slow process, but that's part of what quality takes. So after this coaster finishes printing, we will swap it out for the next one. Obviously, we have 3 more coming of this set. In this case, this order is the one where each image is actually different. So we'll load up a new image and fire up the print job. And now we have the first order printed. There's the rum is my happy place, whiskey is my happy place, vodka is my happy place, beer is my happy place. So we're moving on to the second order, 4 copies of wine is my happy place. And then what's left is to flip all the coasters over and print our logo on the backside. Production is really moving along here now. We have our sayings printed on the top side. We have our top sides all printed now. Now we'll flip them over and print the S3 logo on the back side. As they finish, we move in a new piece and requeue the printer. We are now at our final step or final steps of finishing off our tree slice coasters here. We will be putting on a butcher block oil. We like to use this butcher block oil. It's non-sticky but produces a very moisture resistant finish. For this first layer, we always start on the top and put it on fairly thick, trying to work in the direction of the rings, and then we'll apply a little bit onto the bark as well. Polish that off a little bit. Flip it over, and because it's non-sticky, we can work on both sides, swirling that on, getting that backside covered as well, and we can set it there, and again it won't stick, so it's makes it really easy to work with. So as I mentioned, this first layer we put on pretty thick, then we give a little extra drying time. Normally it's only 4 to 6 hours between, but because we're adding a little extra liquid here, we usually let it sit overnight before we move on to the second and finally the third layer of oil here. And then we will usually leave it for 3 or 4 days to let it dry completely so that it's not oily. And by setting it on these workshop towels, it does help to soak up a little bit of the extra oil. And there we have it. The first layer of oil has been applied. We'll let these sit overnight, get back at it tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon, putting on the second and third layers of oil. Then we let them dry for 3 or 4 days, and then they are ready to be packaged and shipped.